All right, Bears fans, tons of rumors to dive into, but first, if you want Chicago to beat the Detroit Lions this Sunday, don't be the person that jinxes it. Like the video. Don't come back next week and be like, well, if I hit that like button, maybe we would have won. We're all in this together. Hit that like button. Let's get to 5-8. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's dive into a Bears rumors roundup. Could Chicago hire Eric Bieniemy as their next head coach? I'll go two smoking Jays. People are talking on this one, and the main person talking is Josina Anderson on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, tweeting this out just a little bit ago, saying, I'm told the Chicago Bears are expected to have interest in Commanders' assistant head coach, offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, among others, with general knowledge that current head coach Matt Eberflus is under evaluation with the team at 4-8 per source. Now, you look at Bieniemy's kind of journey in the NFL, and he's been around for a while, right? Like, he's been on NFL coaching staffs for 10 years, most of that with the Chiefs, obviously. He became their running backs coach in 2013, held that title through 2017, and was kind of involved in their run game design. Then he became their offensive coordinator after Matt Nagy left to become the Bears head coach, 2018 to 2022. And then he left this offseason for Washington because he wasn't calling plays, and it was perceived around the NFL, I believe, that, well, it's Andy Reid's show in Kansas City, and we're seeing what's happening with Matt Nagy in Chicago. We don't want that to happen with Eric Bieniemy. At least I think that's part of the thought here. Now, before we dive into Bieniemy further, I think my first thought is that, Bieniemy aside, I think that the more these coaching links leak out around the Bears, the fact that they're leaking out in Week 14, doesn't it feel like Matt Eberflus has a major uphill battle to climb here? Like, I just, like, if this is already getting leaked out, all the Harbaugh buzz, we're seeing Bieniemy, like other coaches, like Josina said, among others, so it would appear others are already being discussed within that building. Like, if we're to believe this report, then I just think it's going to be a tough battle for Matt Eberflus to keep his job. Now, back to Bieniemy. What's interesting about him and why he left for Washington this past offseason to go run his own show, and we'll take a look at how he's done in just a moment, he's interviewed for 16 head coaching jobs. He's done 16 interviews with 15 teams. He's interviewed with almost half the league. It's kind of crazy to think about how many chances he's got to interview, but he's never been a head coach. Last year, he was very close to getting the Saints head coaching job, but they opted to keep Dennis Allen and promote him. But at the same time, it's like, man, why is that? So there's two popular theories for why Bieniemy has not gotten a job. There's a third one, too. We'll talk about that in a sec. But these are the main two, at least in my opinion, from what theories have been out there. Legal issues that stem from the 1990s. Now, seems a bit ridiculous. It's 3 decades ago, but, there was some domestic stuff. He had a DUI in, I think, early 2000, 2001, something like that. So, he's got a pass, but a lot of these guys do, man. Like, you're talking 2+ decades ago for a lot of this stuff. So I think that has played a role probably. And I do think Matt Nagy, as Andy Reid's up-and-coming, young, great offensive mind, completely falling flat in Chicago, even though they made the playoffs twice. That was largely due to the defense. I don't think that helped Bieniemy's cause, which is why I think he left for Washington and said, hey, I just got to run my own show and prove that I can do it. I don't buy the bad interview theory, and here's why. If you've done 16 interviews, I just refuse to believe that you just are so bad at it and that you never improve. Teams keep interviewing him. Like, is he just brutal in those situations? I've heard him talk on numerous occasions with the media. He sounds completely fine. Like, I've never got the sense that he could go into an interview and just completely fall on his face. Now, I will say this. Certain players have come out and not been a huge fan of his coaching style because he's kind of a hard ass. Like, I know LaShawn McCoy didn't like him, but we've also seen guys like Tyreek Hill defend him publicly on numerous occasions. And Tyreek has said, yeah, he coaches you hard, but it's out of love. And, hey, he had a lot of success in Kansas City. And quite frankly, the results are a bit of a mixed bag in Washington, but considering he's dealing with a fifth-round quarterback and Sam Howell, second-year guy, really his first year as a starter. Like, they've done some decent things. Like, passing offense is 12th in the NFL with the fifth-round quarterback. They've struggled to run the ball because that offensive line is a mess. 10th in red zone, I mean, I think that's pretty good overall. And remember, that Commanders defense is a joke. Like, they fired Jack Del Rio. Ron Rivera is about to be fired. I wish they would let Bieniemy be the interim there for the final 5 weeks to get a kind of an evaluation of how he would be running an entire football team. But I think he's done a decent job with Sam Howell. Obviously, the turnovers have been high for him, but he's played some pretty decent football this year. Obviously, it's been up and down for him, but that's to be expected for a young player. I think he's done a pretty nice job. I'll say this. I think he's shown enough to get more consideration than he has. Like, I understood to the extent, well, it's Andy Reid's show. Well, it's not like he's gone to Washington and that offense is just an absolute joke. Like, they move the football. Like, they haven't scored, probably as much points as they need to. They turn the ball over too much, but, Eric Bieniemy can't control Sam Howell throwing into double coverage sometimes. Like, at the same time, the players have to do their part too. I think overall he's at least shown, I can call plays. I can run an offense. Like, I'll put it this way. I would rather have this guy call my plays than Luke Getsy. Now, head coach is a totally different deal. I get that, but I'm intrigued. I do think he's someone that I would interview if I was the Chicago Bears and if I moved on from Matt Eberflus. Now, how would you grade an Eric Bieniemy hire as head coach? A, B, C, D, or F? Drop a letter grade down in the comments. I will tell you after this YouTube ad break how I would feel about it. I'd be fine with it. He's not my top candidate, Eric Bieniemy. I'd probably give it like a B-. I think there's guys out there that I like more. He wouldn't be my top choice. You guys know my top two at this point. Jim Harbaugh, Ben Johnson. Harbaugh, for a million reasons we've said. If you missed our video yesterday, we've been told by a source that from Harbaugh's side, if he does not get a mega contract extension that was previously agreed to by Christmas, then he would be interested in joining the Bears. Go check out that video. There's way more context and details in there, but he's a proven winner. I would like that. And then Ben Johnson knows the division. What he's done with Jared Goff is really impressive, so I would be very open to him as well. Those are my top two. After that, I would put Bieniemy in that tier, along with guys like Bobby Slowick and Dan Quinn and Brian Flores and coaches of that nature. So he would definitely be a tier 2 guy for me. I wouldn't mind him, just wouldn't be my top guy. I'll tell you what, I'd like it better than I liked the Matt Eberflus hire at the time, and obviously that one has panned out in a not-so-great manner. All right, more rumors to dive into here on today's show. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Rocket Money. Shout out to Rocket Money, a personal finance app that is going to save you money on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, and year-to-year basis, because what they can do is cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, help you lower your bills all in one place. Did you know with Rocket Money, you can check your credit score all the time. You can set and manage a budget, and they're going to send you alerts and updates on your phone like, hey, you're creeping up toward that monthly budget. You got to scale back. They're going to keep you on track with all that. And what's cool about them as well, they will list out all of your subscriptions on one page, and you'll know exactly how much per month you're spending on those subscriptions. Chances are it's probably a lot more than you think. Most people think they spend around $80 per month on subscriptions. It's more like $200, and I figured that out when I got started with Rocket Money, scaled back, boom, I'm back on track with my finances. You can be as well. And by the way, the 5 million users and counting that use Rocket Money have saved an average of over $700 per year. It's a lot of money you could have to knock out your Christmas shopping, do whatever you need to do. RocketMoney.com/Bears now. Get started with Rocket Money today. That link is in the description and comments of this video. Okay, let's keep our Bears rumors roundup rolling here. How about drafting Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy? I'll go one smoking J. Barely true. It could happen, but I don't think it will. And quite frankly, it wouldn't inspire me that much if it did. I'm not the biggest J.J. guy out there, but I think it's worth talking about. Adam Jahns of The Athletic has kind of gone on this college QB tour this season. He watched Caleb Williams in person, Drake May, and just recently watched J.J. McCarthy in the Big Ten Championship as they beat Iowa 26-0. I think the reason you got to give this at least one smoking J is because there is at least a possibility you could hire Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh loves J.J. McCarthy. I think there's a chance he would push for the Bears to draft him if he became this team's head coach. Here's what Harbaugh had to say after the Big Ten championship about his quarterback. He was kind of talking to him. He was sitting next to him. He said, JJ, you didn't make a mistake out there tonight. There wasn't one play where you made a mistake. It was a near perfect performance. I would follow him to hell and back, and McCarthy followed that up by saying likewise. I mean, these guys have a very, very strong relationship, and they've won a lot of games together. I think they're 26-1 together at Michigan. Full disclosure, I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy guy. I think he's good. I just don't think he's special. At least when I watch him play, nothing about his game makes me scream, wow. He's solid in all areas. He has a good arm, not a special arm. He's mobile, not insanely fast, though. Good decision maker, not always a great decision maker. Good pocket awareness, sometimes he bails too early. So, it's just one of those things. You like the accuracy, but it's a lot of underneath quick throws. I do think he takes care of the football for the most part, but I do look back at last year's college football playoff game against TCU. He threw 2 pick sixes in moments where you just can't have it. So I think my opinion of him could change depending on how he plays against Alabama and potentially in a national championship game as well. I just, at this exact moment, don't see game changer with JJ or game changer potential. He's like a high-level game manager, which you can win with that. You can. Alex Smith, a quarterback Jim Harbaugh coach, I think that's a pretty good comp for McCarthy. Good arm, not great arm. Mobile, not necessarily like fast, though. Good decision maker, manage the game well. I think JJ can do that in the NFL. But if you have that type of quarterback, you've got to have a loaded roster around him, which San Francisco did. So it worked for a limited amount of time in San Francisco. And the Chiefs had that talent with Alex Smith, too, especially once they got Tyreek Hill and those boys in there. So, I like him. I just don't love him. Like the ceiling of all 4 of these other quarterbacks on my personal QB prospect rankings, and I keep going back and forth on Williams and May. I've got Williams number 1 right now, May number 2, but it's very close. Jaden Daniels kind of just out of nowhere on the scene this year. Played well last year, but really put it all together this year. I love his mobility and toughness, and his arm is probably similar to McCarthy's, but with how dangerous he is as a runner, that's more of a special trait than JJ has. Michael Penix Jr., say what you want, he makes throws that make you say wow. Drake May makes you say wow. Caleb Williams definitely makes you say wow. So does Jaden Daniels. I don't say wow with McCarthy. That's why I got to go him QB5 right now on my prospect rankings. I don't think Shedeur Sanders or Quinn Ewers are going pro. If they did, it's possible I'd have them ahead of McCarthy too. Again, good prospect. I just don't love him personally. But he is a proven winner, and if he carries Michigan in the playoff and wins a national championship, that could change. But remember, they're a run-first football team. He didn't throw a single pass in the second half against Penn State. I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying they don't ask him to carry them. We saw in the one game he's lost in his career, when he had to try and rally them back in the playoff last year, he made some big plays. He also made some critical mistakes. So I'd love to see him get stuck in a shootout situation against Alabama and Jalen Milroe and see how he plays. So we'll see if that happens. Now, who is your favorite quarterback prospect this year? Take Fields out of the conversation for 2 seconds. Even if you want to keep Fields, we all have a favorite QB prospect. Who would you say is yours? I'm leaning Caleb Williams, but I really like Drake May and Jaden Daniels as well. Let us know who your favorite QB prospect is. Okay, Matt Eberflus, he needs a strong finish to stay. Is that true? We'll tell you in a second how many Smoking Jays that is. But be sure to subscribe and join us on Sunday, 10:45 a.m. Central Time for Bears Lions live watch party. Should be a whole lot of fun. Hit that subscribe button. We'll have videos all week long, and we'll be live for an hour, 15-minute pregame show and full play-by-play coverage. I'm going to go 3 Smoking Jays. I can't say full 4. I don't know what for sure Kevin Warren is thinking at Hallis Hall, but I got to think that Matt Eberflus has to show that he can stack some wins if he's going to get a 3rd season in Chicago. Coaching leaks already coming out in Week 14. To me, that's bad news for Matt Eberflus. Like, he's going to have to change the narrative. That tells me that if the season ended today, they would fire him. He's got 5 weeks to change their minds. That's what it feels like to me. And for good reason. Like, yes, the Bears are 4-4 in their last 8 games. Kudos, congrats. But he's still 7-22 overall. He's won 1 divisional game. He has yet to win back-to-back games. Like, I keep harping on that. That tells me he can't sustain momentum. That tells me you're not stacking week-to-week good game plans and execution. And like that's a reflection of the head coach, in my opinion. And it's hard to look past a 14-game losing streak, man. Final 10 games last year, first 4 of this year. I don't care what the circumstances are. You can't lose 14 in a row, man. Like, it's almost a full season. Like, it's really, really bad, man. So I think he's got to finish strong over these final 5 games. And the good news for him is these are winnable games. Even Detroit at home, you should have beat them in their crib a couple of weeks ago. You get another crack this Sunday. At Cleveland's not going to be easy, but their QB play is going to be suspect, whether it's Joe Flacco or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Arizona and Atlanta at home, those are 2 manageable games. And, yeah, Green Bay's playing better. Tough luck, man. Maybe that's your message to this organization. Like, hey, let's go 4-1 down the stretch, and we beat the Packers on the road in Week 18. First time we beat the Packers in 5 years. Like, that would be a strong finish for Flus. I think he's got to go 4-1 or 5-0. And by the way, if he goes 4-1, I don't think the loss can beat a Green Bay. I just don't. Like, you're going to have to show that you can beat the Packers to me to convince Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, whoever, that you're going to be worthy of a 3rd season. If he does beat the Packers, I could see George pushing to keep him around because he loves beating the Packers, and it hasn't happened very often, especially in recent years. But, man, I coaching leaks with 5 weeks to go, that to me is a signal that the Bears are prepared to move on from Matt Eberflus. So fill in the blank for us. Matt Eberflus has a blank % chance of returning in 2024. I don't know, 25%? I think, it's not over. It's not Jover, as the kids say, but certainly seems to be trending in that direction. I'll say this. If Detroit, where you have coming off a bye week, and they're not playing their best football right now, come into your building and kick your ass this week, then it might really be Jover at that point. All right, busy show. Eric Bieniemy, J.J. McCarthy, Matt Eberflus, Harbaugh, lots of stuff, a lot of rumors to cover. Follow me on Twitter to stay on top of all of it, at HGramNFL. We'll be back later today with more Bears content.